Wester, and we'll get back to welcome. Okay. Understood.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My country is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of thine pilgrims pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Thank you. Do I have any volunteer for today's invocation or motivational phrase? Words of wisdom, perhaps? John, go ahead.
I feel so sorry for you every week. You do this, very seldom do you get any help. So I came up with something, I hope anyway. Life is not about who you once were, it's about who you are now and who you have the potential to be.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, guests today, we have only one. Sheriff Shane Nelson, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
You are our program. We'll have you up here in just a few minutes. We'll go ahead and get through some of the housekeeping stuff, and then the floor will be yours. Carl. Heather is no stranger. Heather's not a guest well, I guess this is maybe your last week as a guest potentially. Heather turned in an application last week, and so our board meeting next week we'll discuss. But, yes, thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. All right, announcements. You guys are doing great ordering ahead of time. Thank you. Continue to get your service hours into Carl. We have a food project collection date. Earl, is that the 28th of May?
And the date will be the 21st of May.
1st of May.
Normally we do it the next week, but that's Memorial Day weekend. And that could create some problems for people who are traveling, have other things on their mind. So we'll do it on the 21st. If you have a food bag and would like to bring it to Centennial Park, I'll be there from 10 to 11. If you'd like to call me and I'll come get your house and come to your house and get it. If you'd like a food bag, I did bring some with me today. They're right here. So don't be shy. Thank you.
Thank you. We have road cleanup at the end of the month, potentially. If not this month, it'll be moved into next.
Potentially.
Okay.
May have a T-ball's getting in the way.
All right.
And then Oktoberfest meeting tonight, first of the year. Tonight at E-Bar and Grill at 5 o'clock. We're gonna talk about picking our date. We're gonna be looking across the calendars and making sure we avoid the Bend Oktoberfest, any major events at Hayden Amphitheater, and anything going on in Sisters if possible. So that's kind of what the first thing is. What's that?
Hunting season.
Oh, and hunting season is built in. Hunting season is non-negotiable with respect to those weekends.
Thursday, May 5th, we've got our Redmond Community Prayer Breakfast. More details to come on that. Friday, July 8th, we were planning to have our 16th annual Vintners Dinner sponsored by Edward Jones. We're excited for that. We are starting to look for silent and live auction items. Probably volunteers for the event itself. We got more to talk about as a committee, but just kind of leave it there for now. Birthdays. Barb celebrated a birthday on the 3rd. Happy birthday. Bill Durden had a birthday on the 4th, and Chuck Myers' birthday is today. So if you see these guys, let them know to have a happy birthday. Free badge. Who has the free badge this week? It is Amber. I thought so. Okay. Amber, you've got the floor.
Do I have to use it this week?
No.
Okay, I'm holding.
Okay.
Thank you.
You betcha. You betcha. 50-50.
Would you mind drawing a winner ticket for me?
Okay.
Go ahead and read the last three.
There you go.
991. 991. Come on, John.
Barb, that's your deal.
That must have been the last one in there. John, it might be you.
You're kidding.
That's probably you.
That doesn't look very ethical.
That's perfect.
Maybe that's bribing an officer.
Thank you, thank you.
Give our time for
All right,
that. Okay.
We good?
You get to collect, no?
I get to collect too? Okay, well, I'll just start with $5. Michelle couldn't make it today, but she and I'll share the happy dollars. But really happy for last Friday, April 1st, when we had the Keeper's Magic Brew Fest at Wild Ride. It was just packed. And we don't have numbers yet, but with donations and raffles and just that side of alone, I think it's over $3,000. We have no idea on the beer sales piece of it, because for every pint sold, we get $1, or Rimrock Trails gets $1. And that's ongoing. That's not a one-time thing. So we're very thankful for everybody to come and make it and support that, and keep having a beer once in a while. So keep the cause going.
And then the rest I'll just put in there because the end is in sight for me. So, Barb.
Yeah, well, I had a great birthday. I was supposed to be flying home and in the air like most of that day. And I had a delay, so I got to stay an extra day in Des Moines with friends, and they took me out for a birthday dinner, which I otherwise would have been, eating in the airport food. So I had a great week last weekend.
I have one more dollar. I haven't seen Shay Nelson for a long time, so it is great to have you here. I know you're a busy guy, but thanks for coming.
Are you bragging or?
No, we coached football a long time ago, youth football. Ever since then, he got really busy. So, but anyway, it's good to have him here.
Thank you. Don described my appearance differently, but I'll let him explain later.
Okay, I'm Hannah, and I have two happy dollars. The first happy dollar is thank you again to Amber Wilson for buying the last of the Seas candy, which she donated to the Redmond Senior Center, and then it was given to. We were wondering what had happened, when they were going to give it out and stuff. We found out because we got 2 thank you notes about getting Seeds candy. This one says, "Dear Kiwanians, it was indeed a very special surprise to receive via Meals on Wheels a box of Seeds chocolate. Thank you so much, Irvin Liz Knight. Thanks, Hannah, for sharing our thanks." So that was great. And then the other thing is still on the topic of seeds. That is, we were over in Bend on Friday doing some errands and stuff, and we went through the Cascade Village, drove by where the Bend Seeds candy is. They had a great big arch of white and black balloons. They had, what was that? A trailer, an old fashioned
A motorcycle.
drawn.
Harley Davidson from the 30s. Beautiful.
Yeah. And then they had handfuls of free candy samples out there. So I was just so excited. I had a great time. That's my other dollar.
Thank you.
Just before I came to this meeting, I had a phone call. Since I'm the old man in the neighborhood with the tools, he explained that he had a stopped up sink, and he asked if I'd come over and help you take care of it. I just got a check from my wife. It's been taken care of. I'm very happy.
Come on, Beaver Believer.
I got a couple. Went to a heck of a baseball game Friday night. We lost, but our pitcher was outstanding. 17 strikeouts, 2 hits, 1 walk. He went out of the game in the 8th inning, still 0-0. Unfortunately, we lost it in the 10th. And then my son-in-law, I did a 50-mile bike ride on Saturday because I'm the runner for the year.
Oh, happy to be here, enjoy it. Nice weather.
Having to get up in the morning. I just want to say Friday night event at Wild Ride was just outstanding, and thank you and Michelle and everyone else for all the work they did to make that happen. So somebody from out of town that was in here and was really impressed.
Yeah, there's a lot of quantities in here that helped out with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Quite a few. I just want to say also thank you. I think the event was a huge success, and I know you and Michelle put so much time into everything, and it was you know, obviously for a great cause. And then thank you to Sheriff Nelson for being here. He's always really well-spoken, and I enjoyed his presentations. And then I will be here next week. Our daughter's getting married, so I'm super excited about that. Hopefully the bills will come to an end now. And opening day tomorrow. Super bummed that the Red Sox Yankees are not going to play, but it's still opening day, so excited for that. Nice.
You're for the Yankees, right?
What?
Just happy not to announce today.
Good.
My adult acting clear.
There you go. Mr. Lee.
Grateful to be sitting next to the newest almost member of our club. Thank you for coming, and I'm particularly pleased to see Shane here, a community citizen of this community, a participant of this community, as a community citizen and civil servant for a long time, and we appreciate it.
So I'm really excited about the Vintners Dinner and especially appreciative of Josh and Chris stepping up as title sponsors for Edward Jones.
Very happy for a Beaver game that we went to with the boys on Sunday. The Beavers lost the series, but it was a lot of fun with them. They enjoyed it. They got to run the bases, and Oregon State does a real good job with the kids there, so that was a lot of fun. Very pleased with all the rain that we got and the snow over the mountains. Little bursts like that, if they continue, could make up for a lot of lost ground. And then just excited for the Oktoberfest meeting tonight and getting everything planned up.
Tip jar, don't forget tip jars.
Tip jars. One for Reagan, who turned 1 last Friday. She's an April 1st baby. One for the Lady Cardinals. I didn't even do a bracket. University of Louisville, or Louisville, as you call it out here. They made it to the Final Four. Yeah, lost. So at least there was some thought there. Happy for coaching T-ball. That starts today, and just happy to be here.
Got 3 happy dollars. I've got one for opening day tomorrow as well. I've got one for Sheriff Shane Nelson being here with us today. Thank you. It's been a long time. And I can't remember what my $3 is. So there you go.
Okay.
I do want to read though. Hannah had mentioned what 2 letters, thank you notes came in from the senior center this evening. So here's the second one. Thank you all so much for the wonderful See's chocolates. They are a very tasty treat. You folks are very kind and thoughtful. Lord bless you, Dixie Gilmore. I don't know Dixie, is that? Do any of you guys know Dixie? The name kind of rang a bell. But... So did you guys read the newsletter? Who reads the newsletter that Carl always sounds so hard? Right? Everybody's hand should be out right. All right. Did anybody read the front page? It has my mug on it. Yeah. So at the bottom of that article, I asked for you guys to email me if you have hobbies, what they are, why you love them, what you do with them. So I only got 2 replies, which kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. Not too much. I got over it. But it did inspire me to do a new segment on Wednesdays. We're going to do a new thing for the the next 2 weeks anyway, called New Who Dis. And what we're going to do is I'm going to read the hobby of an individual that may or may not be here. And we're going to have a conversation about who we think this individual is based on these hobbies. I think it's going to be an excellent tool because it's going to teach us all a ton about our peers in the room. So I'm going to read this first. This first. And impressive. Like I said, almost inspiring. Okay. I have too many hobbies: gardening, woodworking, volunteer carpentry. I no longer ice skate or cross-country ski due to knee replacements. I still walk or hike 3 miles a day. With maturity and with family, I sold my parachute and scuba gear. Tent camping at least once a year for 70 years. Dutch oven cooking, amateur ham radio operator. I have a general aviation pilot license, but I no longer fly a solo. Travel, 23 countries, 49 states, 100 plus national parks or monuments. I have wanderlust, amateur naturalist and astronomer from my time as a park ranger. semi-professional photographer. I play the tenor guitar. I still keep track of the weather. I was a weather observer in the Army. I design and build giant sundials, and I speak and write the international language of Esperanto. I've been a busy boy. It has been a good life.
John Bruce.
John Bruce, that was an easy one. You have lived an inspired life.
I've had a good life.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's very cool to learn something, because I knew a lot of this stuff, but I didn't know it all.
Say something in Esperanto. Tu me parles Esperanto? Me hablas du canaboy, one canaboy and one canabino, which means I have 2 children, 1 male, 1 female, 1 girl, 1 boy. I haven't spoken it for probably over a year now. But it's fun.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. Very cool. So thank you for that. And so if you guys would like for us to play this game with you and your hobby, email me your hobbies. We'll remain anonymous until we guess. But I thought that could be kind of a fun way to get to know one another. Okay, we're ready for it. Come on up.
Thank you all so much. It's so nice to see everyone in person. And good to see the owl. So I'll remember we have guests that are online as well. What I'm handing around is the annual activity report for our agency. I think it's important that we share with our bosses, and I've told you before, I have 210,000 bosses, but I think it's important that we share with our bosses what their sheriff's office is doing. And what's notable to me about the annual activity report is I think that it tells an accurate picture of law enforcement, at least your sheriff's office, as opposed to the national news media coverage that can sometimes tell an inaccurate picture. And that's, yeah, that's my politically correct way of putting that. But I think when you look at a profession that has 800,000 law enforcement officers in this nation, a nation of approaching 350 million people, when you take a look at the law enforcement agency's activity, in our case, we have about just over 70,000 calls for service. And that's everything that the deputy sheriffs in the field do. We book in about 4,000 prisoners. In a non-pandemic year, we'll book in about 7,500 prisoners. But when you have all of that, and you look at the complaints, are less than 30 complaints from the people that we work for, and then you also look at less than 200 physical uses of force. With all of those numbers, it really paints a picture of the great women and men that are working for you all in the sheriff's office. So please take a look at the agency activity reports and let me know if you have any questions, and let me know if you have any input on the report. I want to thank Kiwanis. I always enjoy coming and visiting this group. First of all, it's always great to go visit with folks that are happy to see you. I mean, that's not always the case for us. When I first started, I thought, hey, people are always going to be happy to see uniforms around. That's just not necessarily so. And I understand that now after being in the business for a while. But second, because you all are friends, you're all also huge supporters of me and the sheriff's office and our Redmond community. And so it's just fun to spend time with you all. And I know that Michelle had reached out to me and said you were interested in a discussion on some of the materials that are purchased through the Child Safety Council. And the Safety Council is a standalone council that raises money in law enforcement communities and then uses that money to buy printed materials for that community and those law enforcement agencies in that community. And so I brought some examples. This is my favorite. It's Our Friendly Sheriff. You can see why it's my favorite. We did used to have brown uniforms, but there's some other examples up here as well. This is a Bullying is Wrong, and then a general child safety manual. But these written materials, along with some crayons, because these are coloring books and activity books, that kids can complete some of the puzzles and color some of the pictures. But these written materials are what these donations purchase. And then we don't take them out of the sheriff's office budget. Now, we use these at a number of community events that we go to. Most notably, where we probably give out the most is, of course, the Deschutes County Fair in Redmond. They go like hotcakes, and we're able to give some stickers to the young ones as well. And to me, before I get into some of the specifics about it, but to me, that is creating the ambassadorship program for law enforcement. It's also an excellent recruitment tool. Okay, if we can get to these young people early on and make sure they have a good relationship with law enforcement, and that's through education and through experience and through discussion and mentoring, maybe, just maybe, they'll come join us in the profession later, and they'll grow to be great people and then come join us. Every individual I visit with who's under 21, I always tell them, come see me when you turn 21, come work with me as a deputy sheriff. Now, I don't know how many kids that will resonate with. My hope is it will resonate with a lot of them, and we don't have to worry about recruiting and hiring for the next 20, 30 years. I will know it worked when some future sheriff's office employee calls me up and lets me know that we've hired somebody I talked to when they were 3 years old. I mean, that will be the great full circle accomplishment, and I'll look forward to that day. But some of the things that are important about our young kids, first of all, you look at how some of our young kids are raised, okay? There's a huge percentage that maybe doesn't play outside as much as I did when I was a kid. A huge percentage that is very electronic based. I will tell you, COVID did no favors to our school age kids. COVID did no favors to our education system, and that is just a fact. Studies back that kids, upwards of 70% of school age kids, by the way, are experiencing depression and anxiety issues in a lifetime that's difficult enough already for young people. They have exposure to far more things than I ever did. You know, when I was young, in order to call my friend, I actually had to go in and turn the dial on the rotary phone, which, you know, speed dial was you just kept your finger in that hole, right? So you could manually manipulate the phone. Now kids have their communication device with them in their backpack or online at times. So to some degree, this device is raising our kids. When COVID came into play, and everybody's at home, and then even more electronic exposure, it just ramps that up. And we all know, we've all heard the stories about the teenagers texting each other back and forth, and they're sitting right next to each other. And that's just how they communicate. And we're worried about that face-to-face communication skill. Now, I have hope, because I have seen that at least my kids still know how to verbally communicate, and they still crave that human contact, and so that is good. But when you take a look at some of these things that are going on, life's hard enough. Look, we come out as human beings. We're kind of come out being self-serving. It's kind of survival instinct. You watch out for yourself. And then we learn through life that, hey, this is a we type deal. We're all a team. We take care of each other, and we move forward. Well, for our youngsters, I mean, that's really important that we help guide them onto, hey, what are some of the things you can safely do? What are some of the things you need to be aware of? From my perspective, when you've got kids and we're trying to teach them how to be good team players and teach them how to be good people of society, we start trying to get them to think of other people other than themselves. And sometimes there's a lot of insecurities that go there. So bullying kind of naturally fills that void. Sometimes when people feel insecure about themselves, one of the ways that they try and empower themselves is they bully or they demean other people. Well, that's one of the programs that gets talked about in this material. It's an anti-bullying campaign, and I tell you, I think in today's day and age, especially where you have electronic information that really doesn't have a lot of personalization to it, it's really easy to blurt out, hey, so-and-so, sounded really stupid when they made that comment, or so-and-so, they don't know how to dress. It's very impersonal, yet on the receiving end of those types of messages, it's very hurtful. And so just trying to get young people to understand what some of those effects, and truly the hard knocks of life is, you have to live it, right? Maybe you have to make one of those statements and then see what the consequence of that statement is. But bullying, if you can catch and get information to people when they're younger, it's a lot better, because 4 to 5 year olds, they report about 1% of them are bullied. When you get up to 8 to 10 year olds, it's about 21%, but 11 to 13, you have about 33% of that age group saying they're being bullied. So roughly 1 out of 5 kids reports that they have had some kind of a bullying incident. So the more education that you can have, and then sometimes when it comes from hopefully a professional individual that works for our office who's sharing this information, it can really hopefully have an impact on some of these kids. I think when you really look at the connection bullying or being bullied can have on some of these violent issues that occur in schools, and you couple that with the fact that younger generations really don't have a lot of coping skills. I always use the example that my grandfather, he was born and raised on a farm. They were homesteading in Condon, and so he had 12 siblings that always helped with the work, right? If they wanted to eat, they needed to go to the garden, or they needed to go and butcher an animal, or they needed to go and milk the cow. There had to be some work involved. And nowadays, if I want to eat, I go to the store, and I don't have to wear a mask anymore, but I go to the store and I pick up my groceries, except now we have supply chain issues. So many topics, I won't go into all of them. However, it's a lot easier and simpler. We have remote controls for our television. You kind of get my point. It's, if you put in a certain amount of work for some of these things that you receive or you get, you really have a strong work ethic or a strong belief in what's going on. But these electronics for young people, we talk about that cyber bullying when there's not necessarily a name that has to be associated with it either. I call it electronic graffiti. I don't know about you. I don't read the comments after news stories because I think it's just electronic graffiti. I don't have time to comment. And so I would feel like I don't have time to read the garbage either, actually. I think the percentage of worthwhile comments after those stories is probably less than 1%. That's just kind of been my dealing with it. So it's one of these things where electronics are wonderful if we use them as a tool to help us get our jobs done, but they can also be a real downfall, especially when we talk about our young kids and the information they're exposed to. I kind of want you to pause and think about it. This is information that's A, it's not vetted. B, is anybody familiar with TikTok? My word, I think I have nothing good to say about TikTok, so I'll stop there.
If you want the Chinese to have all your information and sell it to everybody.
Well,
that's exactly what you're doing.
There's
They have
very,
it on their phones.
there's very,
Absolutely.
very definite intelligence combing that's going through electronic media. Have you ever noticed when you're Google
And
searching
it is the
something?
Chinese government. that
All-
you
all-
install TikTok.
Well, and it's not just them. I mean, I have to tell you, there are people that make significant amounts of money combing through this information through electronic media. And have you ever noticed when you're Googling things or you bought something on Amazon, all of a sudden it wants to sell you another kayak? How does it know about that? So that is a
And the
good point.
algorithms are not productive that they're putting on there purposefully so.
Yeah, well, now you're getting to the space where algorithm gets a little bit beyond my capability. But when you think about some of those information settings and whether it's accurate or not, none of it's vetted. And so this information, which is instantly accessible, is all of a sudden, that's the deal. That's the truth. Perception is the truth. Reality doesn't matter anymore at that point. You would have to convince me otherwise that TikTok is not successful. I'm going to use the milk crate challenge example. Who has heard of the milk crate challenge? Okay. TikTok not only has got young people to do this milk crate challenge, which I'll explain in a minute, they have gotten adults to do the milk crate challenge. And it can seriously injure you or kill you. And what it is a milk crate. Everybody knows the plastic milk crates. Okay, you get one, probably a decent step stool. I'd kind of question it if I were you, but what they do is they have you stack up as many milk crates as possible in sort of this triangle shape and use it as a staircase. You're supposed to see how many you can stack up and then climb up the milk crates. It's not stable at all. Okay. And then they have some of these videos of these people falling and they break their ribs and they have internal injuries. But that's the type of effect that these electronics and this instant access information has on these young people. And so very scary. But some of the other things that are in these materials that we have, we go over stranger danger. We go over firearm safety. If you find a firearm, go tell an adult. There's a mascot, Eddie the Eagle, who talks about how you should handle a situation where you find a firearm. And it talks about some of these things that we really don't talk about as a society much, okay? So there are important things to cover. We go over bicycle safety, school bus safety, and drug safety. Drug safety is important. I don't know if you have heard of fentanyl and the increase in fentanyl. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. I know Amber would know about it because she's in. I know. I had to. Yeah, Amber, she's a positive supporter and married into the law enforcement profession. But fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. It's been around for years. It was in the medical field. It's like 100 times more addictive than morphine. So fentanyl, an amount of fentanyl the size of 4 grains of sand can kill a person, depending on what their level of resistance is, okay? Last year in 2021, because of unsecured borders, 11,000 pounds of fentanyl made it across the border into this nation. Now that's what they caught, okay? So you can always kind of guess if you want a number. We probably catch, when we're successful, maybe 10% of what's out there, okay? Then that's really probably saying we were really successful, okay? So you figure it could have been 110,000 pounds of fentanyl that made it into this country. 11,000 pounds of fentanyl is enough to kill a third of the Earth's population, 2.6 billion people. So you can imagine 110,000 pounds of fentanyl. And in the drug realm, the way the cartels make money is you create more addicts, okay? And there is no lab technician or pharmacist that's overseeing the mix or addition of fentanyl into these illicit drugs or some of the other dangerous substances that get cut into these drugs. Not only that, fentanyl is being added to about everything. They're being added to marijuana, methamphetamine, fake pain medication pills. And so it's very dangerous. So the more education that we can do with young folks about healthy lifestyle, healthier lifestyle, and just really trying to stay away from those drugs, because when they are out there and they're being exposed to these drugs, simply one time can kill them. And so that's one of the safety messages that we really want to connect with the young people. I want to just end with this. To me, it's about the fact that we work for you all. We will always do the best we can. Yes, I employ human beings, so we will have some missteps, but we will learn from those missteps and we will constantly try to be better at what we do. We can't do it without your partnership, your generous support in helping us buy these materials, your generous support just of law enforcement in general. That's how we accomplish our jobs. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me today. I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Are you related to Jeff Nelson and Condon?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And next question, are you guys all wearing cams now when you're interacting with individuals in the field?
Yes, we have body cameras and in-car cameras. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that, because I've been looking at getting body cameras for a while, but I didn't want to get body cameras minus an in-car camera, because in my mind, if you're going to tell a story, you need to tell as much of the story as possible. And so by waiting, by the way, everybody knows technology is really expensive when it first comes out. And then after it's been out for a while and you get some competitors, it's very, very investment friendly. So we did a 5-year body camera program, which actually included a complete changeover to a newer model as part of that for $750,000, when initially we were looking at body camera investments of over $3 million to just get into body cameras. So significant.
And it's gonna get cheaper.
Difference,
It's like when you
of
look at
course.
the augmented reality glasses that are coming out and what that's gonna do for, anyway. And then another question, I'm seeing road rage incidents across just in general going up. And it seems like it's an impossible thing to report and get anywhere with. What is the burden for somebody if they have road rage happen at that moment? Is video gonna help them? What is gonna, because it seems like you call them as like, well, sorry, the guy should have got mad at you.
Well, and I hope that wouldn't be your experience with
That's been
our
my experience
office.
every time anybody I've talked to that's been
Okay.
experienced road rage.
Well, I would encourage you to have them call our office directly, because if we have had a response like
Them is
that.
me.
Sorry.
Them is me.
Okay, I would encourage you to report that to the supervisor when that occurs to you, because I would not feel good about that response to you from our office. I will tell you that it is helpful to have video, but we don't expect you to do video if you're driving and you're operating your motor
Cars
vehicle.
have video.
But a good description of the suspect vehicle and the suspect and the type of behavior that occurred, because then that helps the deputy sheriff get the elements of any criminal action that might need to be taken. It's you've all been on the roadway. I mean, the population's increasing around here. The number of visitors are increasing around here. I have to tell you, it is difficult to work traffic safety on Highway 97 anymore, because you really have to balance, okay, by going after that car, am I creating a bigger issue? Am I going to create a bigger incident to include a traffic crash if I try and go stop that car? And you talk about road rage incidents increased, yes, and you will continue to see those. And part of those are linked to exactly what I talk about, a reduced ability and coping skills, no skills to interact with people and understand when you're frustrated and mad. And then, by the way, throw in the fact that a pandemic has altered everybody's lives for 2 years. That's really not helpful for road rage incidents, and everybody's in a hurry to get everywhere. I'll tell you, you won't save much time if you just if you go above the speed limit. Anything else, sir? Okay, thanks.
How are your staffing levels? Everybody else seems to be impacted.
We're really blessed. So right now, I think we have one position to fill in deputy sheriff in the patrol division. In a few months, as we have some attrition and some added openings after budgeting, we'll be back to having open spots, but that's life, that's business. But right now, as we stand, we have one opening for patrol deputy sheriff. We have 9 openings for deputy sheriff in our corrections division. We still have 2 nursing positions that we need to fill. We just filled our professional staff, our records specialist positions, but it's difficult to find people. And it's difficult to find people in the public safety business as well. So we're just trying to be creative.
I have a general question and a specific one. If I look at burglaries and break-in, you've got it broken out by major population areas here. Is there a particular area of the county, I'm relatively new here, where crime is more of an issue? And is it related to anything in particular?
I would tell you, no. I mean, and the reason I give it from my perspective is that at any given time, you can have different numbers anywhere in the county, okay? And you might have something that skews the numbers. If you have a couple of folks addicted to drugs that are trying to feed their habit, and they happen to hit one particular subdivision, it's going to ramp those numbers up. I haven't seen anything outside of crime increase on general increase in population. I have not seen anything that would lead me to believe that, wow, violent crime's going up or this type of crime is going up. I do have some concerns about the decriminalization of drugs and those that are drug addicted not getting help, because Measure 110, although excellent in theory, and I support the mission or the idea, there's no consequential hammer to Measure 110. An individual can get as many $45 to $100 tickets. There's no end to them, or take as many health assessments when they have a user possession of drugs. By the way, 40 oxycodone pills is considered personal use drugs, if that doesn't shock you.
So then I guess related to that, logically, you're seeing a significant increase in mental health calls.
Yes.
And that's probably reflective of our society in general. But what are you doing to deal with that? Because that's got to be a difficult problem.
Right. I have a belief that a uniform doesn't have to be the answer to everything. We may be the hub to help find those answers and those resources, but our office heavily invests in the stabilization center, which is basically crisis respite, mental health respite, on our Bend public safety campus. And we're a heavy investor in that and the mobile crisis assessment team for behavioral health. We also have behavioral health specialists in our jail that deal with those experiencing mental wellness challenges. Part of the thing about mental wellness challenges is we're just going to continue to see that increase. I don't know, and I'm sure you all have the same question, but I don't know how this COVID response over the last 2 years is going to affect mental health into the future. I don't know if it will take a generation or two to overcome the damage that was done. And I'm simply just stating it factually. I'm not here taking a side on COVID. I'm just telling you what we're seeing, what we're hearing, and what we've seen from studies, okay? Because we just have to remember, all these things that happen, they last for a generation. They last for a while until it can be corrected or helped. So that's one of the things we do. The other thing that we do as it relates to like homelessness or drug addiction, we started an Operation Guardian Angel program, which basically says no questions asked, no crimes. You come in, turn in your illicit drugs or paraphernalia, or even not, if you're in need of treatment or you have a family member, and we plug them directly into medication-assisted treatment through Ideal Option. They're a great partner. Josh Lair there has been a great partner to us. We're just trying to stay as proactive as we can be and stay ahead of the curve. But, you know, I think we all need to remember also this and I don't like to use the word institution because the 100-year-old mental hospitals were terrible and there's a lot of neglect and abuse in those hospitals. But we've got to come back to some kind of humane rest home concept, okay? In the early 60s, the federal government thought the medication worked so well for mental health challenges. And it was a great thought process. The fact is it just doesn't in all cases, okay? The inhumane living conditions that some of these folks are staying in, it's not humane and it's not okay. It's not okay for them. It's not okay for community and public health.
Once in a while, we see your name in the paper.
No, it's possible.
And given all your professional training before you became the sheriff, I'm wondering, did you really think you would have this kind of coverage and issues you had to deal with personnel and the press and the political part of your job as against just being a professional law enforcement officer?
I knew there was going to be challenges. I did not realize the depth and number. That's a good way to put it. And I'll tell you, we're very blessed. The television stations, the radio stations are very good about unbiased, accurate reporting, telling both sides, here it is, make your decision. The local newspaper reporter that covers our office, as a matter of fact, when there's positive articles that we share, they're rarely reported on. And there's no sour grapes to it. It's like, look, I don't buy the newspaper. I read it because I think it's part of my job, but I don't buy the newspaper. And I won't support something like that, especially in a day and age when you have to have accurate information, good and bad. Okay. We often report our own bad information. Well, I mean, we do. We always report our own bad information. I'll give you one quick example. Right after the George Floyd death, there was an individual from our community who put a still picture up on a Facebook that appeared to show a deputy sheriff's knee on the neck of a female suspect that they were taking into custody. So the news crew for, I think, Central Oregon Daily was out in the parking lot. I said, oh, can I have that picture? I grabbed that picture and I walked right down to the reporter and I said, hey, let's do a story on this right now, so we can be transparent with our bosses. Now, it ended up through the investigation, the outside investigation, that no, that was not the case. It was a small snippet of a broader video. But it's important to let our bosses know, hey, we take that stuff seriously. We're transparent. We'll look into it. I know you all don't want us to be so transparent it could jeopardize the investigation or increase our liability. So we always balance it. But look, I work for you all. And so I want to tell you how your sheriff's office is doing, good and bad. And I want to tell you how we are going to try and remedy some of those situations. Good question, and thank you for asking. But at the end of the day, the buck stops here. Amber?
I just had two things. One was a question. So on the traffic, and this may go along with what Noah was saying, more aggressive driving, but 8 out of 12 months, there was a big increase last year. Would you think that it has to do with more aggressive confrontational behavior, or just more people being in the area? Because it was a little surprising just because more people were working from home, so it seems like there
Right.
would be less incidents.
Well, yeah, and then it started getting freed up a little bit, and then everybody was, that first summer, they took the restrictions off, and everybody's like, oh, gangbusters, right? But I think when you have that kind of isolation, and it's that, hey, you're on your own, and your frustrations are rising, nobody really knows the accurate information about anything, and then people kind of don't have a lot of patience anyway. And if you notice, there's a lot of distracted driving going on. There's a lot of aggressive driving. I mean, folks don't realize if you're on an hour-long trip, you're going to save 3 minutes at best between 75 or 55 and whatever speed that you're going to go. So I think it's impatience and also the lack of coping skills and some self-centeredness. But we also get 3 to 5 million visitors to the Central Oregon area a year. And, that just tends to ramp up the activity on the roadways. So I think it's a combination of things. I mean, I heard about some individual at a grocery store lost their temper because they were out of some type brand of ham. This is a true story. They were out of some brand of ham, and this customer went ballistic on the poor, 15-year-old employee at the grocery store. It's just because folks are frustrated. They've had enough. And I'll tell you, I think there's a political influence as well. People are tired of politics. People are tired of the news. People are tired of the bull crap. They want to hear some positive stuff. And it goes back to that instant access of information, accurate or not. But we can't escape it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love to forget my phone at home. It's awesome. So.
And then I just had a statement. So, I feel like people tend to hear when things go wrong and not when things go right. And I just wanted to say, I think that you're doing a great job. I think your department, the fact that it's, probably has the lowest amount of vacancies out of any of the departments in Central Oregon. I always see deputies out there. I saw one of your deputies at the doctor's office, and I said, what are you doing here? And he said, a wellness check, you got to make sure you feel good, so you're good at work, good at home. And I thought, that's important. There's so much negativity that comes back, especially, what they deal with on a daily basis. And then, the view of them in general of what they do. And so the fact that you put so much weight on that to make sure that they're mentally okay and, physically feeling good, I think it just, is important and speaks volumes to, obviously you're running a good ship there. And, I've never had any bad experiences with anyone in the department. And my husband does not work for his department. So there's nothing. I mean, I just think, you probably hear a lot more negative about stuff with your department than you do positive. So thank you for your service. Yeah.
I had a footnote to that Friday night at the event at Wild Ride. I don't know if you saw this, Josh, but there was a gentleman outside on the sidewalk who was yelling and swearing, screaming, doing all kinds of things. Some of the folks that were in the back outside there were saying, the police came. Why don't you arrest that guy? And, basically they were saying there's no reason to arrest him. We talked to him. He proceeded to go down the other side of the street, kind of still talking, and went away. But it was, I thought it was handled particularly well, so.
Classic case of mental illness.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
It was handled well though.
Yeah. Did you see that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I am.
All right, guys, so with that, we are dismissed. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you all again next Wednesday.